I was thinking the other day, and this is rather curious. Really, when did we all decide that life had to be so tremendously serious? I mean, honestly, have you ever stopped to wonder about that? Because nobody ever sits you down, do they, and says, right, from now on, everything must be approached with utmost gravity and solemnity. And yet here we all are, walking around with these furrowed brows, carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders, as if we've been personally appointed managers of the universe. It's quite extraordinary when you think about it. We suffer, you see, we suffer magnificently. And I don't mean just a little bit of suffering here and there. No. We suffer with such dedication, such commitment, such absolute seriousness, that you'd think suffering itself was a spiritual practice we'd all signed up for. How are you doing, someone asks. Oh, terribly busy, absolutely exhausted, so much to do, so much responsibility. And we say this almost proudly, as if it's a badge of honor. Now, let me tell you a little story. I once knew a man who spent his entire life worrying about whether he was living correctly. Every decision, every action, every thought had to be examined, analyzed, justified. Am I doing this right? Should I be feeling this way? Is this the proper response to have? He turned his life into an examination, you see, a test he was constantly taking and never quite passing. And the funny thing was, he had this idea that somewhere at the end of all this testing and trying, there would be a moment where everything would click into place and he could finally relax. Finally just be. But that moment never came, of course, because how could it? The harder he tried to reach it, the further away it got. It's like trying to catch your own shadow. The faster you run toward it, the faster it runs away from you. And this, my friends, is what I want to talk about today. This peculiar predicament we've gotten ourselves into. This assumption, never questioned, that life is fundamentally a problem that requires solving. That we are broken things in need of fixing. That existence itself requires our constant management, improvement, and control. But what if, and just consider this for a moment, what if that assumption is the problem? What if all this struggling and striving and attempting to figure everything out is rather like, how shall I put it? Rather like trying to bite your own teeth, or like trying to look directly into your own eyes without using a mirror. You see what I mean? It's a logical impossibility dressed up as a spiritual goal. So let's look at this, shall we? Let's really examine how we got into this mess in the first place. Because it's important to understand, you see, that this isn't natural. Children don't start out this way. Have you ever watched a small child? Really watch them. They're not walking around thinking, am I being a good enough child? Am I playing correctly? Should I be laughing differently? No, they're just there, fully present, utterly absorbed in whatever they're doing. But then something happens. We start educating them. Now, I'm not against education, understand me. But what happens is we begin to condition this spontaneity out of them. We teach them that there are right ways and wrong ways to do things, proper ways to behave, correct answers to give, appropriate feelings to have. And underneath all of this teaching, running through it like a hidden current, is this message: as you are, you're not quite right. You need improvement. You need fixing. I remember when I was teaching years ago, and I would see this happen to students. They'd come in fresh, curious, full of questions, and gradually you could watch it happen, this transformation. They'd stop asking questions and start worrying about answers, stop exploring and start performing, stop being present and start calculating how to appear intelligent, competent, successful. The educational system does this beautifully, you see. It turns life into a series of tests. There's always another level to reach, another qualification to achieve, another standard to meet. And so we develop this relationship with existence as though we're climbing a mountain that never ends. Each peak we reach reveals another peak beyond it. And we think, well, once I get to that peak, then I'll be able to rest, then I'll be happy, Then everything will make sense. But you see, the problem goes deeper than just education. It's rooted in something much more fundamental, and that's fear. Fear of uncertainty, fear of not knowing, fear of being out of control. We cannot stand it, you see. We cannot bear this feeling that things might not go according to plan, that life might be fundamentally unpredictable, that we might not be in charge after all. And so we develop the ego, this sense of being a separate individual, a little creature locked inside our skin, peering out through our eyes at a world that is fundamentally other than us, foreign, potentially hostile. And this little creature, this ego, must constantly defend itself, must plan and strategize and manipulate circumstances to ensure its survival and happiness and success. Now, the ego is terribly clever. It's rather like a con artist, really. It creates this whole story about who you are and what you need and what you must do to be safe and happy. And we believe it completely. We never question it. I am this person in here, and I must protect myself from everything out there. The ego tells us that security lies in control, that peace will come once we've finally arranged all the pieces of our life just so. Once we've accumulated enough money, enough status, enough love, enough something, then we'll be okay, then we can relax. But can you see the trap? The ego itself is creating the insecurity it claims to be protecting you from. It draws a line between me and not me, and then spends all its time worrying about that boundary, defending it, reinforcing it. And in doing so, it perpetuates the very sense of separation that causes all the anxiety in the first place. Let me put it another way. Imagine you're a wave on the ocean. Now, the wave might look at itself and say, I am separate from all these other waves. I am alone. I am small and vulnerable. I must make myself bigger, stronger, more impressive than the other waves. And so the wave spends all its energy trying to be the best wave possible, never realizing that it's made of ocean, that it is ocean, that there's no actual separation between the wave and the ocean at all. The boundary is illusory. We're doing the same thing, you see. We've convinced ourselves that we're separate from life, from the universe, from existence itself, and then we spend our whole lives trying to reconnect with something we never actually disconnected from in the first place. Now, this brings us to something absolutely fascinating, and I want you to pay attention here, because this is crucial. What I call the backwards law. Have you noticed this? The things you want most desperately seem to slip through your fingers like water. The harder you try to fall asleep, the more wide awake you become. The more you pursue happiness, the more miserable you feel. The more frantically you seek peace of mind, the more agitated you get. This isn't an accident, you see. This isn't the universe being cruel or playing tricks on you. This is revealing something profound about the nature of experience itself. When you try to achieve peace, think about what you're doing. You're implying, first of all, that you don't have peace. That peace is something out there in the future that you need to acquire. And that very thought, that very assumption, creates a split, a gap between where you are and where you think you should be. And that gap, my friends, that's the agitation. That's the problem. It's like, okay, let me give you an example. Someone tells you to relax. Just relax, they say. And what do? You tense up, trying to relax. You become anxious about being anxious. You're fighting with yourself. And in any fight with yourself, who exactly is supposed to win? You see the absurdity of it. One hand is trying to force the other hand to let go. But the harder the first hand grabs, the tighter the second hand holds on. It's a vicious circle. The attempt to solve the problem reinforces the problem. And this applies to everything we do, especially to spiritual seeking. This is really quite amusing when you think about it. People come to meditation, to yoga, to various spiritual practices, and what are they doing? They're trying to achieve enlightenment, trying to become awakened. trying to find their true nature, trying to reach some special state of consciousness. But awakening from what? From the dream that you need to be awakened. The seeker is the problem. The very one who's looking for peace is disturbing the peace. The ego that wants to become enlightened is the obstacle to enlightenment. And I said to him, who is it that hasn't gotten anywhere? Who is it that's tried so hard? Who is this person who wants to be enlightened? And you could see it in his face, this moment of not quite understanding, but sensing something. Because the question itself undermines the whole enterprise. The seeker seeking enlightenment is like the eye trying to see itself, or the knife trying to cut itself. The instrument and the object are the same thing, and so the task is inherently impossible. You cannot step outside yourself to improve yourself, because there's no outside to step to. There's nowhere to stand except where you already are. And yet we persist, don't we? Oh my, how we persist. We create entire industries around this: self-improvement, personal growth, spiritual development. The shelves are full of books. How to be happy, how to be present, how to be free, 10 steps to enlightenment, 5 practices for peace, method after method, technique after technique, all promising that if you just do this one thing, if you just follow this particular path, you'll finally reach that elusive goal of being okay. But here's what I want you to see, and this is really the crux of it. The future you're striving toward doesn't exist. It's a mirage. It's an idea in your mind right now. The person you think you need to become is just a mental image, a fantasy. And the peace you're seeking, the very seeking of it, is what's preventing you from noticing that it's already here. You see? The pursuit creates the problem it's trying to solve. The striving generates the tension it hopes to release. The seeking sustains the sense of lack it aims to fill. You're running on a treadmill, going absolutely nowhere, getting exhausted in the process, and wondering why you haven't reached your destination yet. What if there's nowhere to go? What if the whole game is rather like a dog chasing its own tail? Round and round it goes, utterly convinced that if it just runs a bit faster, tries a bit harder, it will finally catch that tail. But of course the tail moves as quickly as the dog does. The distance never closes, because the seeker and the sought are one and the same. Now let me offer you a completely different way of looking at all of this. Instead of treating life as a problem to be solved, as an examination to be passed, what if we understood it as something more like music or dance? Think about it. When you listen to a symphony, you don't sit there thinking, I can't wait until we get to the end so I can say I've successfully heard this piece. That would be absurd, wouldn't it? The point of music is not in the final chord. The point is in the listening, in the experience of the sound as it unfolds moment by moment. Each note has value, not because it gets you closer to the end, but because it's part of the melody, the harmony, the rhythm of the whole, or dancing. When you watch someone dance, a really good dancer, not someone who's trying to get from one side of the floor to the other, you don't applaud more loudly if they get across the stage quickly. No. The movement itself is the point. The dancer is not trying to arrive anywhere. They're expressing something, participating in something, being fully present in the motion itself. Life is like this. It really is. It's not a journey from birth to death where the goal is to arrive safely at the end. That would be mad. Yay, I died, I made it. No. Life is happening right now. And the point of it is the happening itself, not some future result, not some ultimate destination or final achievement. I often think of a river. The river doesn't flow in order to reach the ocean, as if the ocean were the goal and everything before that were just preparation, just a means to an end. The river is rivering right now. It's doing what rivers do, flowing, moving, changing, being exactly what it is in each moment. And when it reaches the ocean, it doesn't stop and think, finally, I've achieved my purpose, now I can truly begin living. The ocean is simply the next form the water takes. It's all water, you see. It's all one continuous process. Or consider a flower. Does a rose bloom in order to prove something? Is it competing with the other roses for some award? Is it trying to become the best possible version of a rose? Or is it simply expressing its rose nature, unfolding according to its own inherent pattern, without the slightest concern for whether it's doing it right or wrong, whether it's achieving its potential